Hi there, and welcome to another episode of The InEVitable. This is the MotorTrend podcast where we're talking about the future of the automobile. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Is it going to be in cars that drive themselves? Is it going to be in electric cars? Is it going to be in self-driving electric police cars? And the answer is, it is. It's happening right here in Southern California. We're going to be talking to two guys behind an all-electric police fleet of vehicles.
That is correct. On the show today, we are blessed with Sergeant Tony Abdallah of the South Pasadena Police Department and Ben Schaefer of Unplugged Performance. He is a returning guest. He's the second returning guest we've had on. And these guys have been working on a project over a number of years now where the city of South Pasadena, which is just up the street from downtown LA, they are going all electric with their police vehicles. And this is a big deal. This is not like onesie-twosies. Like there have been multiple police agencies and other city agencies that have maybe used Nissan Leafs or Bolts for like writing tickets.
Meter maids.
Maids, or they have a one or two that they're trying. These guys have right now changing over all the vehicles. Goodbye Dodge Charger.
Goodbye
Explorer, Tahoe. All those are going away and being replaced by Tesla Model 3 and Model Y, 20 vehicles in total, to make the nation's first, possibly the world's first all-electric police department.
And we have both of them here, and we're going to talk to them on The InEVitable.
So bring them on.
All right.
Welcome, Sergeant Tony Abdallah and Ben Schaefer, our second return guest.
That's right. Last year he was here to talk about Randy Post was driving Plaid up Pikes Peak.
Yes.
With me.
Yes.
Now he's building police cars. And
but the big news
Sergeant Tony here
is thanks to Sergeant Tony and the South Pasadena Police Department. You guys are the first in the country, right, to field actual electric vehicle patrol cars.
The entire fleet.
The entire fleet is being changed over.
Correct. Entire fleet all at once.
Okay. Because before, other PDs I know have experimented with EVs. They've been like for the ticket guys or administrative vehicles. But this is like everything is going over, including, I think the big deal not that their actual patrol cars will be. All South Pasadena PD will be, the patrol cars will be EVs.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And we confirmed first in the country. This is a known fact.
Yes, and we actually think it's going to be the first in the world.
Oh,
the first law enforcement agency to convert entirely all at once to EVs.
Like Norway doesn't have?
Good question.
I don't think they have somebody that's converted entirely.
Okay. That's crazy.
We tracked on the lead up to the project approval. We tracked 26 other agencies across the U.S. that had integrated one or more Teslas into their fleet. Now we're aware the number's up to about 42.
Okay,
but none that have ripped the Band-Aid off and converted entirely all at once.
All right, before we go any further, I asked this question earlier, but I just wanted to get it on record. You're here in an official or unofficial capacity representing South Pasadena?
I'm here in an unofficial capacity with official insight into a groundbreaking program.
And the blessing to speak on it, so to speak.
I can talk on it. Yeah, I've been designated as our media contact for that.
So how long have you – first of all, how long have you been a police officer?
Just started my 34th year.
You look so young. How is that
very
possible?
Kind of you. Because it is a difficult profession to stay that long in.
The pension kicks in at 20 years, man. What are you doing?
I've got to see this program through.
Oh, okay. So then how long has the program been how long have you been working on this?
Yeah, 2005 probably is that's when our city adopted their low-emission vehicle policy.
Okay.
So sustainability and health consciousness is deeply embedded in our city's fabric, and it's reflected in their vision statement. So that policy directed department heads that if there was a low-emission solution that was suitable for their needs, then that's the one that they were to go to.
And it took 18 years to get there.
Oh, you must have done other cars in the interim, right?
We did. Between, say, 2005 and 2019, when Tesla unveiled the Model Y, we had tested other low-emission vehicles. So we had a CNG trial.
Okay.
Compressed natural gas.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a couple other variations.
What would have that been?
That was a retrofit on a Ford Crown Vic.
Yeah, there was a bunch of Crown Vics.
So big old tank in the back in the trunk.
Huge tank.
Yeah.
That was one of the big issues that we had. Just took up so much room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we as a police department, we had kind of a long and storied history of not necessarily saying no, but just not yet, because things hadn't evolved to the point where we were comfortable that something was suitable for a patrol vehicle.
Okay.
Until 2019, when Tesla unveiled the Model Y, it perked us up and we're like, ooh, wait a minute.
So what was different about the Y?
Mainly the form factor. It looked like it could be one that had enough size to fully equip. We carry a lot of equipment as well.
We're gonna talk about that.
And it looked like it could be suitable.
And the X didn't work and the Model S didn't work. They're too expensive.
For us, it was cost prohibitive because I was tasked with solving a big problem to where we had a vehicle fleet that was end of life. I'd probably argue to you 2 to 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And we needed to replace the entire fleet.
What's in the fleet? What's in that fleet that you're
It's kind of a patchwork quilt right now. We've got Ford Explorer utility hybrids. We have some Ford Tauruses.
Whoa.
We have a Chevy
Tahoe?
Thank you. I'm trying to think
Caprice?
of some other ones. We have a Ford F-250 utility. So we had
any Chargers? Dodge Chargers?
one, maybe two.
And
So nothing high, all internal combustion, nothing, except with a couple of those hybrids. Did you mention hybrids?
Yes.
Yes. And then nothing from, because all three of the domestics, Ford, GM, and Stellantis, they all make PPV, police pursuit vehicles, or what do they call them? SSVs too, or special service vehicles or whatever. So you sounds like you have one from every single one.
It's just funny that the death of the Crown Vic, of the Panther platform, because everyone thought it would be all Explorers, and I talked to so many officers, mostly CHP, and they hate them for a variety of reasons. Like some guys, real big cops seem to like them because they fit,
right?
No one else likes them at all.
Yeah.
They handle poorly and they're slow and they have all these other problems. The big guy's always like, "Oh, I love it."
It's difficult to get a general consensus from everyone, because we can't even decide where we want to go have lunch together.
Right.
So when it comes to,
we will need a list of where you eat. By the way,
yeah, I've got a great list.
We're big advocates of go to where the cops, because they eat out every meal.
That's
so
how you know
you're
in a good spot.
Okay, good. After the show.
But it's weird to me. You're changing out the end. You said the end of service life for these vehicles is 3 years ago, but you're doing it all at the same time. Aren't you constantly turning the fleet over?
That's been our general cadence in the past, where we would get 2 to 3 replacement vehicles a year.
Mm-hmm.
However, we had a couple pretty lean years there for a while. Then COVID kicked off. Okay. We had supply chain issues. We couldn't get cars. So constantly kicked the can down the road till it finally got to the point where it was just not sustainable, and we had to come up with a creative solution to replace the entire fleet.
And what are these cars? What are the mileage? What kind of what's a service life of one of your cars?
We're really hard on cars.
Oh yeah, please.
So 70. It varies based on department. We take it on a case-by-case basis, but as a general rule, when you get to the 70,000, 80,000 mile mark, that's getting pretty tired for a police car.
It's funny because it sounds like, it's not so bad on a modern car. 30 years ago, the car's done. But 70,000, that's a decent used car. But we know cops' cars have a much harder duty cycle than civilian vehicles.
They do, and for us, they're in use almost 24 hours a day.
Right.
So we run 2 12-hour shifts, and they're assigned at the beginning of the shift to an officer. So there's a handoff that occurs after that 12-hour shift to, the next oncoming officer.
And we have a zillion questions about that. But hang on.
Let's.
How did you meet Ben? How did you meet Unplugged Performance when you decided to go with Tesla?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
So in the research we started doing after the unveiling of the Model Y, we really started to take a deep dive into whatever open source information there was out there about, and there was plenty. So it was really important for us, since there's so many firsts involved in the program, to identify and hopefully retain the services of experts when it for us, we ended up choosing Tesla as the best solution for us. So I was banging away on the computer one day and came across a Pikes Peak video. And saw, really drilled into and saw their expertise in the motorsports background. And there's a lot of common ground in that because performance characteristics are super important for us. So,
but they're also taking a stock, OEM vehicle and modifying it for a harder duty cycle.
And they being this gentleman here.
Yeah, Unplugged Performance. Yes. But anybody who,
So that really piqued my curiosity. And
pun intended. Pikes Peak. All right.
Yeah, I weave that in there.
But they're local also. I mean, local-ish.
That was the added benefit.
Right.
Was when I'm like, where's this company at? Oh my gosh, they're in Hawthorne, which is only about a half hour away.
It's not Tennessee.
No.
Yeah.
So I showed up one day, unannounced, to the Unplugged.
In uniform?
Yes.
Perfect.
So they let me in the door, and they were wondering who was in trouble.
Right. That's great.
So Avi Fisher was in the office. Ben was out, and I said, "Hey, we have this idea of transitioning our entire fleet. We identified Tesla as being the best option for us. And would you be interested in partnering, with us in this project?" And that was like 2 years ago.
Wow.
So much to their credit, they hung in there. There was a lot of education that we had to do for our decision makers and correct a lot of misinformation. So the consulting aspect, too, of having them as experts when it comes to Tesla was invaluable for us.
So what is some – I'm in the misinformation game myself. What is some misinformation about, EVs that your decision makers had? We're thinking.
Was it Tesla specific or EVs in general? And what else, before we get there, what were you looking at other than Tesla?
We looked at
there wasn't really anything out there 2 years ago.
Very, very closely at the Ford Mach-E.
That's been out.
Which was another one that looked like, okay, this might work. Mm-hmm. The Volkswagen ID4.
That wouldn't work.
Actually, I'm driving one. It's not terrible.
It's not a cop car.
It's not a cop car.
The Hyundai Ioniq 5.
It's got the size and the power and the range.
And the Kia EV6.
Same car, yeah.
Basically, same platform.
Yeah.
Right.
So there were issues with each of those I could speak to if you like. But
dude, Ioniq 5, you guys would be like the Blade Runner, like police department.
What was wrong with the Ford, since they have such a great history of making?
They do. They do. And you saw what they did yesterday, partnering with Tesla.
Well, not only that, they make the Police Lightning.
Correct. They have a long history.
Yeah.
And we've used variants of different models over the years with Ford, so we've had a very close relationship with them. But what became problematic for us was, and this relates to the maintenance aspect, the best maintenance is no maintenance. So one of the purposes of the EVs was to identify a platform that was low on the preventative maintenance. So the Mach-E has a thermal system with like 35 different hoses and probably 31 different spring clamps.
Oh.
And
this is battery cooling.
There are 2 loops to it. So one is for the battery and one is for the HVAC system. Well, Ford, and it's in the owner's manual, requires you to, on a scheduled maintenance cycle, to go into a dealer and have the frunk removed because you can't see it. It's all under the frunk, and have that inspected. So that kind of defeats the whole purpose for us. It was a deal breaker because we're trying to get away from that. With the Teslas, we're looking at preventative maintenance wise, tires.
Yeah,
because they're heavy, they're harder on tires.
Yep,
brake pads,
windshield wiper fluid, windshield wipers, cabin filter. Interestingly
not even brakes.
The brakes are TBD.
Yeah, because you don't use them.
One of the agencies we reached out to was a city in Indiana, Bargersville, Indiana, police department, and their chief, Todd Bertram, really kind of took the lead on transitioning Teslas into their fleet, I think starting back in 2018, 2019.
In Indiana?
In Indiana.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And he mentioned to me that they had, I think it's a 2019 Model 3, 60,000 miles, still had 70% brakes.
Yeah, I mean EVs as one of the big benefits is they don't, they're harder on tires, but they don't make a lot of brake dust. Yeah, because you don't use them.
And with us, with the city driving, we're a small city. For people that don't know, we're a 3.5 square mile city, about 27,000 people, mainly city driving.
Right.
So with the region braking on it, it's going to be interesting to see how long we'll go. We're hard on brakes as a profession to start with. But it'll be really interesting to see how much extended that is.
So what was wrong? I'm loving this. What was wrong with the Korean products? What was wrong with the Ioniq 5 and the Kia from them?
At the time, neither of those were crash tested.
Right, they're new.
So one of the main criteria that we're looking at when we're choosing a platform was safety.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, law enforcement as a whole, we lost 31 officers to automobile crash fatalities. So I never wanted to have to go to an officer's family or friends and explain to them why we chose a solution that was less safe than something else that was out there.
That's a great point. Yeah,
so
because Teslas do very well in crash tests.
5-star,
5+,
all categories, subcategories, plus the lowest probability of injury.
Right.
So that was huge.
It's worth noting that both Kia and the Ioniq, the EV6 and the Ioniq 5 are now, I think they are both 5-star.
Yeah.
NHTSA and IHS. I just didn't know at the time. I would say that, though, having driven them both extensively, I don't think they actually have the amount of storage that you'd need in the back that the Model Y in particular does, because it's got that deep well. Those cars have a pretty high floor.
Sure. I wanted to add a few points here.
Yeah, please.
So, Tony mentioned we've kind of been in this program together for a couple years, and through that was a lot of education and selling on Tony's side and our side, both side by side. Oftentimes, the city council meetings going into midnight and past with James from our team out there, and we see all the questions that are asked. And there's a very valid reason as to why you have examples of EV police cars in single units here and there, but you don't have an example of a whole fleet. So there's a leap of faith to have a city take a bet on something that could backfire if it's not well vetted. And when we talk about a Mach-E or any other EV, one of the parts of the vetting process that's important is data and number of cars on the road and a reliable example of maintenance costs and of just how the cars perform. And Tesla's unprecedented in terms of de-risking a decision to go with the whole fleet.
Right.
Time will tell how other EVs play into this factor. But when you're making a bet with taxpayer money, you want to be right.
And look, I mean, what the Model Y is now the third best-selling vehicle on Earth. Is that's the
data is very strong. The Y is well
in Q1.
Well
it's the number one selling vehicle in the world now.
Is it in the world? Okay.
Okay.
That's for Q1, so it's on target to be number one.
I know it's been number one in California. Model 3 was, and I think Model Y passed Model 3. So
in the world, which is crazy. So
crazy,
in terms of all this data, I think the key point is there's always, fear, uncertainty, and doubt that we see across the board with adoption of EVs. And in the context of
FUD, a nice FUD. There you
go. Exactly. You got to drop the FUD now and then. So, having witnessed what it took for Tony and our team side by side to get, the the dollars behind this program and to get it to work, we're seeing questions asked, I should say, of can Russia hack the cars and like do some crazy terrorist event, or like do these cars just like light up on fire randomly, like I saw in some fake news story somewhere or whatever. Like, there's all this fear.
No, that's it's funny. So when I pulled in this morning, I was on a phone call. And I literally was with a friend she knows a lot about cars, and I was saying what we're doing. She's like, "Well, what if the cop car catches on fire? Like you can't put them out." And I'm like, "Yes, you can put but like, you know what I mean?"
There's
like,
still a lot of that out there, and you witness it when you have to get consensus.
So give us more. I love these. Like, what are the other sticking points?
Tony, you have some favorites that you had to overcome with
Russia hacking the South Pasadena Police Department?
That was a crazy one. Yeah, like the questions that are being asked. And I respect the question. You have to ask it if you don't know the answer.
Sure,
but
you could ask the internet first.
But
don't ask the internet.
And I remember at the time thinking, like, literally, Elon is almost a defense company now in Ukraine with Starlink. Like, who has better defense against Russia or anyone than Elon's own team when he's out there, in essence, doing military's works, providing satellite coverage
that's fair.
on the war front.
Yeah, against his will. But yes, that's fair.
You have these examples where it's like you can't be more vetted on the technology than what Tesla brings on the security side, on the vehicle side, and so on.
Right.
Anyways.
But yeah.
I think from an operational perspective, one of the big questions we had was related to range.
Okay.
There was a perception that there was a lot less range than what there really is.
And even if your town's 3.5 square miles.
We're not far from a charger. Yeah. But we could talk about that because we're getting the whole infrastructure.
But look, I mean, I drive an EV, I own an EV, and that's the number one question I get is what's the range? And I always flip it back. I'm like, what's the range of your car specifically? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I go, okay.
So let's get into that because this is actually one of my biggest questions. But before, for people who are listening, let's just restate the proposition here because you mentioned you got to be very conscious of what you're doing with taxpayer money. So this is an arrangement that was partially funded by the city of South Pasadena. I think they're putting in $500,000, right? Is that correct?
I think we're putting in a total over the life of because we ended up going with the leasing solution.
Right.
It's going to be about $1.3 million.
$1.3 million to lease 10 Model Ys and 10 Model 3s.
Correct.
Oh, so it's 20 cars total?
20 cars total.
And these will be used as patrol and I literally just read an article. Patrol and detective administrative vehicles.
That's correct. We chose the Model 3s as the solution for the admin and detectives.
And these are rear drive or all-wheel drive?
Rear drive.
Okay.
Rear-wheel drive.
And then Model Y is only available all-wheel drive, right?
Dual motor.
Dual motor, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Long-range variant is what the ones we went with that instead of the performance.
For patrol cars.
Correct.
Okay. And then, so 1.3 million. Does this include, because there was also a Southern California Edison component to this for the charging?
It does, and that's why it looks like it's an increased cost. So we don't have an existing charging infrastructure other than one level 3 charger in a rear lot on campus for us.
At South Pasadena Police Headquarters.
Correct, and we're co-located with our fire department.
Okay.
So we needed to come up with a solution of the appropriate size and scope to support the needs of an all-EV fleet, and those being 20. So we partnered with Southern California Edison with their Charge Ready program, and what they essentially do is on their dime, they bring in the infrastructure, the transformer, the cabling up to the point of the chargers, and then we pay for the charger. So we're looking at 34 level 2 chargers to be installed across 3 lots. So specifically in the police department rear parking lot, we'll have 16 level 2s. And then we'll also have an additional level 3 dual port charger. So we'll have the option to fast charge if need be.
So, and just so everyone knows, so a level 2, that's your overnight charging. It takes probably on a Model 3Y like 6 hours to charge the vehicle, from 20% to 80% or whatever the strategy is. Level 3, you can probably do in 25, 30 minutes to a full enough charge.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know, and again, remember with batteries, it's weird. Like, you know, you can go really fast to 80%, but then the 80 to 90% slows down on level 3, and then 90 to 100 just there's no point. But it takes a long time, so you might as well do that overnight.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then for our supplemental and
That's a lot of chargers, though.
It's a lot of chargers.
34 over 3 lots, 16 at the main.
But that's
campus.
great.
16 at the main. And what's neat about it too is 14 of those chargers are going to be made available to the public after hours.
Oh, that's great.
So they'll have that option as well. But
That's great because that's for apartment dwellers. It's always like,
For free?
How do you charge?
there will be a cost associated with it.
Right. That's fine. Just curious.
But that's still a policy decision that they haven't decided on.
That's
exactly
great.
what
That's
it's gonna
great.
be.
That's awesome.
But for supplemental and redundancy needs, we have a 20 stall Tesla supercharger location less than a mile away from our rear gate.
Huh.
And we've really drilled into that because right now with our single gas pump, it's a single point of failure. This kind of goes to one of the misconceptions is we'd have people ask us, well, when the electricity goes out, we have a power grid disruption. What are you guys going to do? We're like, well, when we have a power grid disruption now,
Can't pump gas.
Our gas pump goes out.
There were so many people. Remember the last, I can't remember the name of it, the last hurricane that pummeled Florida. People are like, well, if you had an EV, you'd be stuck. I'm like, no, because they can drive underwater. Odds are your battery has some charge in it. If you go 20 miles away, you're fine. And you can literally drive underwater. They're sealed.
That's right. And if you saw pictures of that recently, you saw people lined up at gas stations to fill up, but the chargers were not near as bad as the gas stations.
Right.
were.
Well, there's fewer EVs. But I'm just saying, you can just get 20 miles away, then you can plug in anywhere. Yeah. You can get gas anywhere too, but
it could also be argued over a longer duration of time. EVs are safer as well because of the direct aspect of solar charging versus having to transport gasoline into a place that's blocked off over a longer duration. So I think in any circumstance, it's a fair argument to say EVs are in a pretty favorable position for any type of disruption.
Of course you'd say that. But we're going to get to that. We're going to get to this great conspiracy you guys are building here. But no, let's. I got so many questions about the use, but because we have Ben here, let's talk about the build out of these vehicles.
What's
okay,
different?
So let's.
We all know from
let's
the
go
Blues
boring.
Brothers.
Let's get the boring stuff out of the way. I mean, these the Model 3 rear drive. These are what is detective administration? Just like just driving around investigating
it's a
stuff?
normal. Yeah, so driving to and from court to file criminal cases, doing follow up investigations, just basic driving
and these
use case.
So these vehicles won't need to have like a cage in the back or the spray out, the hosable rear area for a perp, as you might call them, right? Is that correct?
For accidents in the rear of the
Okay.
So
these will just be normal, basically normal Model 3s with like.
Well, let's ask:
SPPD
are you doing anything besides livery
on the detective administrative vehicles?
Yeah, we have a fair amount of work to be done, but it's not related to those subjects. It's more about lighting and PA systems and just gear for the officers. It's not so much like for the Model Ys, we have K9 units and we have things to bring prisoners in and all of the stuff you're talking about.
Okay,
but the Model 3s are a more basic build out, I would say. Although a lot of the difficulty in upfitting actually comes into the electronics, which is.
I get to that.
Yeah, it's somewhat technical and maybe a bit boring for our motorsports background, but it is a challenge. So that is a lot of the workload is working on those challenges.
The detective cars, is there any electronic anything happening?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Will they have
there's lighting
listed?
equipment.
Okay,
there's lighting equipment, emergency lighting equipment.
The light bar, right?
No, an interior scaled down light bar.
Okay.
Siren.
Oh, like the
radio.
The one that you hate because it's like, oh, dude.
The unmarked police car.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Okay. So like the one, it's going to be kind of near the rear view mirror or the sunshade kind of area?
It's mounted right below the sunshade mounts.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But it's a very thin LED on each side. So front lighting.
Do you put
police radio?
Do you put sirens, like hidden sirens in them? Okay.
I do.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Where? There's no grill. You can put them in the front. You put them in the front,
well,
or under
that's really where Unplugged comes in with their expertise. Is Since there are, again, so many firsts, and this being a new platform, we've had opportunities to really rethink the way that we've upfitted vehicles in the past.
So where are the siren lights?
By the way,
We could tell you, but we'd have to,
there's actually a strange odd parallel because for Pikes Peak, for EV cars, you have to have a siren for pedestrian
Yes,
safety.
that's right.
So strangely enough, we were actually putting police sirens in our Model S Plaid before we were doing this project, which is a weird parallel.
Right.
But, there's creativity and flexibility for everything from existing systems that cross over to EVs and also new solutions. So like a really small one that I can mention for the sirens is from an aerodynamic standpoint, rather than do what everyone else is doing of basically bolting sirens on the exterior of the car, we're mounting it behind the bumper and perforating the bumper and doing decibel rating tests to make sure that it comes through, which it does. And that just makes it a bit cleaner, a bit more aero efficient, and you'll see little perforated holes on the bumper for how we're approaching that.
Interesting.
That's
That's
just
your
one
tell.
little detail.
That's your tell. So I'm going to help people out. If you think it's a cop behind you, look for the bar and look for the perforated bumper. Okay. Okay. And so the detective cars. I'm going to drop some. I learned. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to call out that I have two good friends. Well, actually, my best buddy Rob and his brother Thomas. These guys are both former police officers. Rob retired a long time ago from policing LAPD and UC Berkeley PD and all these other places. Thomas just retired like last week. He's 20-year veteran, UC Berkeley Police Office, UC Berkeley Police Department, and then the city of Berkeley. And he's an EV. They're both EV nerds. They're both Tesla drivers. So they were like, they heard this, and I was like, oh man, what should I ask him? So they gave me all this stuff, including a bunch of crazy jargon that I had to then decipher. So there's
we have a lot of that.
Wait, do you want to move to this before we get to what they
Well, I was
did
going to
to
ask,
the
the
Model
detective
Ys?
cars, will they have an MDT?
No.
What's MDT?
MDT
That's
is the
thing.
Mobile data terminal.
Mobile
So
data.
it's like a laptop that sits in the passenger seat.
Let you run the plate on the guy who just blew the stop sign in front of you. That's right. So no. So they'll just be standard Model 3, like with the display, and no, they won't have the shotgun rack or anything up front of these guys.
Not up front, but we are equipping them with rifle racks.
Okay.
in the frunk or trunk or somewhere.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe.
In one of the orifices.
Who wants to know?
In an undisclosed location.
Right. Okay, yeah. So the cop car has guns in it.
Right.
Shocking. All right.
Okay, so well, at this point, let's pause on this because I had this question early on thinking about this. The Bay Area in particular has seen a bunch of break-ins into Model 3s based on this. It's this weird like hack. Model Ys too? I don't know. There's a side glass, right, in the door that in the rear deep C-pillar area where apparently these thieves have recognized they can break it and then reach in and drop the seat and then pull out whatever's in the trunk. Is there a solution for this for police cars? For what you're building?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I had that conversation with James just last week.
Oh, okay.
So we're aware of it and we're formulating solutions literally as we speak to address that. Yeah.
Sounds like a business plan here, just a little metal piece of great. So I'd like 5% royalty.
There you go.
Also, I mean, I don't know. I think like, if people are going to steal from cop cars, it's kind of humorous. Like,
Yeah.
Well, again, my buddy Thomas told me like
Not in San Francisco.
it said,
Well,
yes,
yeah.
it actually happens a lot.
Happens
Apparently,
all the time.
It happens to the CHP guys because apparently they park their cars at yards where nobody is like really monitoring it. So, anyways, okay.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate. Yeah.
We'll keep going.
Yeah,
Let's
but- okay,
let's move to the Model Y.
I mean, look, we all seen the Blues Brothers, like, cop suspension, cop, blah, blah, blah. So what are you doing to the Model Ys to make them,
upfitting, heavy duty.
Yeah.
what do you have to do?
Well, we have some K9 vehicles, so we're doing unique interiors for that versus vehicles that will hold a prisoner. We're doing ballistic protection on the door panels.
Oh, interesting.
Which is,
okay.
a fantastic option. We're looking a lot into that as a category as well because, one of the things that motivates me besides clean air and saving taxpayer money is saving lives. And what Tony said about crash safety is a really important data point. Obviously, not having a gasoline engine in the front allows a totally different crash structure, which makes all EVs inherently safer, and Teslas are exceptional at that. We're looking at the same thing for ballistic protection, and I can't get too deep into it, but my mind is in a similar place right now as we're preparing for Cybertruck,
Right.
in terms of just ruggedization of Cybertruck. So I feel like, and this is maybe indirectly a statement on the state of the world right now, but things don't feel like they're getting safer. So I think ballistic protection may have crossover appeal beyond police officers in some cases, but in the case of the Model Ys, that's definitely one of the specs that we're we're doing. We're very interested in pursuit-rated vehicles and leveraging the motorsports background that we have. So we're eyeing some updates on a brake package as well. And ultimately, I think the Tesla as a platform can be exceptionally good at any kind of rating standard that's currently the benchmark for police vehicles.
But
So,
I know, like with most cop cars, you're adding a lot of equipment, so you're adding a lot of weight. So Model Y is what, 4,500 pounds?
not a light car to begin with.
Yeah,
And it has
and-
instant torque and low center of gravity. So we find weight isn't as big of a penalty on it as.
But how much weight are you adding?
I don't have total numbers yet. We're right in the middle of it, but it's
Approximately.
well. Let me give you a devil's advocate point of view. We add a ton of weight for our Pikes Peak car, adding a full roll cage. I don't think it's that much different, excluding the ballistic door panels, which currently the technology around that is quite heavy.
But a roll cage is what, 250, 300 pounds?
I don't have the numbers, but I would bet we're adding less weight than that to these vehicles.
Oh, really? Okay. So you don't. So in other words, you're not adding new springs. You don't have to add new dampers.
No.
Okay.
For current
You
use
don't?
case, no.
No?
We want to. From our side, we're ready to go crazy.
What about the wheels themselves? Because cop cars famously have these extra heavy.
You can hit a curb at 80 miles an
heavy
hour.
duty bearings and wheels so that they can roll over curbs at a high speed. Is this going to be something we're going to see in these cars, or
The data is not quite there to suggest that it's a necessity. If we have data that suggests that it needs to be, we already have those products for our consumer vehicles in terms of ruggedized suspension components and motorsports related stuff. So it's an easy thing for us to accomplish. But there's a delicate nature of handling taxpayer money and a fixed budget to get the job done. So as much as I'd love to check off a whole bunch of cool things we have to make these things unstoppable, it's really about solving the need at hand.
If I may imitate Ed Lowe for a second. But hang on a minute now. I remember with the Explorers, they were really having a problem with weight because they were. I mean, maybe this is CHP vehicles, but they're adding like shovels and medical kits
and we did this.
computers and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
I did this with my buddy. So if we exclude the special use case canine vehicles, which I expect will have some stuff, right? You need to put in some kind of cage in the back for the Model Ys. These would be again Model Y, dual motor, not
Long
performance,
range.
long range. Okay, so the big battery, they'll have two motors. You want a cage at minimum, and probably not the nice interior, like a hose-outable interior, or you can it's vinyl, like you could just
Well,
spray
the
it out, right?
interior panels that we have right now for the K9, I believe, are lighter weight than what it replaces because it's just injection molded plastic.
Okay.
It's very
Right.
simple.
Right,
Okay,
right.
so then, but you'll still need to put a barrier between the officers and whoever you put in the back. And is there any other kind of cage structure back there needed, or just that barrier between the two areas?
I believe that's it.
That's
yeah.
correct.
Okay, so and then you'll have a bunch of electronics up front. That mobile data terminal, probably gun rack in the front. That's what my cop is like. You always want to have the gun. If you pull up on a scene where somebody's shooting, it's a real pain in the butt to have to get out of the car and go to the back to get the extra thing.
Yeah, no, we don't want to go there. So we're actually putting because the weapons platforms that we carry at South Pass are twofold. So we carry shotgun and rifle. So we'll have two racks mounted, easily accessible to the driver and the car.
Front passenger.
Yeah.
And actually, that was the question. One of the questions we had. Are you guys? These are mostly single. Is it two officers per car, or is it
Single
one?
officer.
Single officer per car. Okay.
Correct.
So, I got weight gear estimates from my buddy. He's like, look, most officers on duty will probably carry between like 40 pounds. They'll put in the back. They'll have their duty bag. They'll have like the ticket book. It'll have this and that, like whatever, their lunch maybe if they're not going out to eat. If they're writing tickets, they might have a LiDAR bag. That's another 10, 15 pounds, something like that. But then if they're like special guys, they'll carry like additional, like this guy was also a bomb
Ammunition
squad and
stuff. Yeah.
SWAT. So he's like, I was carrying like my own rifle and I got this other bag full of stuff. So we estimated between 40 to 100, 150 pounds per officer would throw stuff in the back. Is that roughly accurate?
I think so.
Okay.
Like you said, it varies. I worked special weapons and tactics for 12 years, so my loadout was a little different than officers working the street is. But one of the things that I look at, curious to get your feedback too, if I'm not mistaken, the tow rating on the Model Y is 3,500 pounds.
Yeah,
So-
I wanted to illustrate that point and the fact that, these cars are loaded up with the full family for a road trip, towing a trailer. So the use case for the car well exceeds any weight additions that we're putting into it to begin
So
with.
what's the gross vehicle weight rating of a Model Y?
Top ahead?
Ed's going to Google it.
Yeah.
But if it's a 4,500-pound car, it could probably take 1,500 pounds a family.
What we're talking about is not even
So
a blip.
53 to 5,700 is the gross vehicle weight rating. So you're not there.
We're not near it.
Okay.
So the effects on performance,
Okay.
acceleration, handling, and braking.
Okay.
We haven't had that feedback from any other departments that we're tracking.
By the way,
whether that's an issue.
I should add, I can't give details because it's an NDA situation, but we've done security cars in the past for multiple years, and we have data on kind of what are the wear items. Not police vehicles, so there's a slightly different use case, but they get beat on pretty good, and we see them and maintain them, and these cars are robust. It's not a lot of failure points on them, which is, I think, again, one of the reasons Tony is referencing the choice for Tesla, because you want to have uptime and not have your fleet in a shop for many days at a time.
Right.
And there's not that many blind spots that we found so far. We'll obviously learn deploying 20 cars versus a handful, but we haven't seen any glaring issues that need addressing as of yet.
What about bumpers, pit maneuvers, that kind of stuff?
We
Pit
got 'em.
maneuver stands for police intervention technique,
That's
right?
CHP,
So we're going with the same solution that's on our Ford Explorers now.
which
it's
is
it's an aluminum push bumper
okay.
and fender guards as well.
Okay. And there's, I mean, you've been on the, I mean, let's pause. You started at LEPD, is that correct?
I did.
And so you were driving as a patrolman, first grade, like probably a Crown Vic or
Yes.
or a Caprice.
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Oh,
I
nice.
think we had both in the fleet at the time.
Did you love them? Were you sad to see them go?
Well, back up just for a second. I started in law enforcement really young in the Explorer program of South Pass when I was 14. We had a couple Plymouth Furies.
Oh, nice.
That were in it. And that was like my all-time favorite.
They had the round siren. Or something
with big gumball machines on top. Exactly. I mean, that was really old school.
Wow.
Nice.
But throughout my career, I've seen different iterations come where we've had different models transition in,
Right.
transition out, and always the cars that we had in hand seemed to be the best cars ever. And the new cars coming in were like, ooh,
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know if we want to go there.
Right. Change is hard.
And that
Yes.
exactly. So we're going through kind of the same thing now.
I kept hearing though that people love those Crown Vics especially because they could beat them to death, and then they're essentially a body on frame vehicle.
Not essentially. They were body on frame.
They're body on frame.
Yeah.
You can pull them straight, and then there were so many out there that finding body panels or whatever after you had to pit maneuver somebody or jump a curb was totally easy.
But look, if it's the best-selling car in California, there's body panels.
That's true.
But
there's no concerns about, I mean, fender guards and an aluminum push bumper. Like that's enough in terms of the use case for Southwest.
For what I would call incidental contact. Yeah, it'll protect against the little dings and stuff from a pit or something along those lines.
And then Ben, because I'm never clear on this. Like I know they're unibody cars, but having the battery the way it's held in, it's sort of like a frame, right? I mean,
The battery structure is really rigid and gives a lot of support to the vehicle.
Yeah, because it really.
But you don't put it on a rack to straighten a Tesla. Like that's kind of the thing.
Oh, how do you fix a Tesla?
Well, we had to fix our Pikes Peak car. We just cut the whole damn front end off and two-framed it. But I'm not sure I need to do that for one of Tony's cars.
But okay, so in other words, so if it is a unibody, if it's really damaged, you just chuck it and get a new one. It's not, you can't straighten it like you can a frame.
Yeah, I mean, within limits, it's kind of a case-by-case situation. But I feel like this is another FUD topic. Everyone's
Sure.
like, oh, you got a fender ding, your car's total kind of story.
Right.
It just is not the case. Like we actually, the background of Unplugged in this case is a bit unique because in the world that Tony's in, they're upfitters and they just do that. In our case, we have a weird hybrid background of not just being motorsports, we're also in Tesla's authorized body shop program, and we handle insurance work from time to time.
Oh, okay.
We also engineer product and manufacture product, and we also were deeply involved for 2 years on the sales side, working with Tesla's fleet team to procure the cars, working with Tony's team, with the city. So we're looking at this thing at a holistic level, trying to figure out not just how to put parts in a car, but how to actually engineer a solution. And when I look at what's in the market right now, the main players like Ford and GM and others, they have, fully built out solutions. And our objective is to bring Tesla into that world and make it a leader. And it requires knowledge on the sales side. It requires knowledge on the engineering side, on the integration side, data on maintenance and repair parts. Even potentially, we're looking at offering a maintenance program where we can basically de-risk taxpayers and say it's going to cost X, we'll guarantee it,
Right.
and back it up. All these things are all, I think, needed to remove the the fear of making this solution. And what I commend Tony and South Pass for is they're the only ones that have like come to the table and said, we're going to do the whole damn thing. Everyone's like putting their foot in the water.
Sure.
And Tony has enough data to know the risk is not that big. Like the data's there. So,
but
we're trying to solve all that.
Go granular for a second. Like, your cars are raced. And I imagine like two cars smacking into each other on a racetrack is pretty similar to if you're chasing somebody, you're smacking them on the street. So
There's
like
some parallels, yeah.
Yeah. So like, you're not that's not totaling the race car. You're just putting new fenders on it and
Precisely.
door panels.
It's not anything that's. We're not talking about cars versus space shuttles here. It's still a car,
Right?
Like,
Well, these are not cars that everybody in the world it's getting that way, but are super familiar with. So here's what I'm doing. I want to stay granular on the cars and talk a little bit more about some of the mechanical stuff, and then get into the software piece, and then talk about the humans behind the wheel. Okay, so. Just for those who are not familiar with these Model Ys and Model 3s, they have glass roofs.
Yes.
Okay. Is this a problem at all? Like where you mount the lights? I know Tesla sells crossbars like a roof rack, but is that the solution? And then what about the antennas? Because you guys have to have radios and stuff, and like CHP cars got these long ass whip antennas. You guys don't need those. It's not super long like distances you're trying to communicate. But where's all this stuff going?
We've got it all solved. The glass roof is not a limiting factor. It is a delicate subject and needs the right approach, but it is not something where we'd have to engineer a metal roof or something to accomplish this. These cars are going to have glass roofs.
Suction cups.
And by the way, the glass roof is structural. A lot of people don't realize this.
Right.
It actually is strength rated and gives structure to the vehicle. So even if someone were to replace it, you'd also have to engineer it and study to make sure that it's as rigid as the glass roof. You may actually damage the car by replacing that with a thin aluminum
metal
roof.
bends more than glass. Yeah, well, for sure. But it's not. That's not. Nothing you're putting up there is it on the glass or are you suspending it over the glass?
Yeah, it's spaced a little bit above the glass.
Okay.
And the challenge for us is just the details of how to run the wires and stuff through it. But we got that worked out.
Okay.
Antennas, same thing, off the truck.
Antennas are interesting. We have a fantastic radio specialist, and what we learned from him is our frequency operates in the 470 megahertz spectrum. So our antenna size, there's an inverse relationship to the antenna size. So our antenna size is really small. And that will be mounted.
And is this a South Pasadena thing or just a police standard?
It is. It's dependent on what radio spectrum that each agency is operating on.
Okay.
That's why you see CHP referred to their whip antenna. They have a long antenna because they operate on a low. I think they're in the 100s.
Okay.
Megahertz range, so they require a longer antenna. So that'll be a specific case to each individual department. But for us, our antenna size is probably about 4 inches, and that'll be mounted in the rear hatch area up on top.
Okay.
Okay.
So off the roof, yeah.
Let's talk about this because it's always interesting. I've never been in the back of a police car.
Oh, I have.
Put in there against my own will.
We can make that happen.
So
I know people.
So the back of these Model Ys will have a what do you call it? As a
Prisoner partition?
Prisoner partition. It'll be clear Lexan or something
For the top portion.
Top portion. The lower's like metal.
Yes.
Okay. And what are they sitting on? Is it the plastic, like blow molded, like super uncomfortable and with room for handcuffs?
Yeah, it's not built for comfort.
Right.
We don't have the luxury version.
But it's got a cutout for handcuffs?
Yes, they do make them that way. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. And this is something that's available off the shelf? You had to make this?
There is something off the shelf that we're looking at. And one of the things that we do is try to figure out, is off the shelf good enough or is there opportunities here? So we're evaluating each component and figuring out, is the status quo right or where can we advance it? And we're picking our battles. But there is an off-the-shelf one that's pretty good.
Your dummy.
Well,
He's kind of like average size.
Well, I want to get the size actually. There's enough room back
6
there.
6 feet, 175. He's good size.
Are all police cars, when you put somebody in the back, it's only one person at a time, right? You need, how many seatbelts do you need back there?
Occasionally. There's two.
There's two.
So
Take the third one out.
there are times where it may be advantageous for us to put two people in the back of the car.
Let them sort it out.
I've gotten. I mean, just from working with CHP a lot for video stuff, I've gotten rides in the back of police cars, from time to time. So
Yeah, but as a general rule, we'll transport one at a time.
Okay. And then is this I know these jokes, like there's a lot of just disgusting stuff that happens. You know, people get sick, you got a drunk person.
There's a lot.
Yeah. So these have to be essentially hose outable or clean it. You have to be able to clean them out.
Drain plugs?
Do you have drain holes in these things? Or
No,
is that
and we don't now.
Okay.
But the
Buckets?
the solution that we're putting in there is suitable. You could, if you wanted to, pull the entire bottom portion out and hose it out.
Right.
So how do you normally, is it like a shop vac, like a wet vac type situation? Somebody else has to do it?
How about a garden hose?
Okay. Oh, really?
Well, we've had that happen too, and with our canine handlers as well. When there are
sure.
accidents that occur in the past,
Interesting.
they'll hose that.
Dirty
out.
work.
All right. So
It's horrible.
yeah, these super modern EVs are going to have an environment any of you criminals will be very familiar with.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about. Ed brought up a great question.
Electronic. Oh,
Yeah.
well, you mean the key? The
keys.
All right. So
Yeah.
let's talk about electronics. So first of all, how are the officers going to get in and out of these cars and trade between shifts? Are they going to? Is it tied to the? You know, Tesla's use a mobile app, or you can use a valet card. And the valet for most EV cars is terrible. It's like it takes forever. It doesn't really work all the time. These are emergency vehicles. You need to be able to get in it and go and stop it, or jump back in and grab your gun or whatever. Like, what's the key solution?
That's a really important question, and one that we asked and really wanted to solve. And what we discovered was there's actually 3 options for keys for Teslas. So you've got the key cards that come with the car, the app, and also key fobs. So we're going to have a blend of all 3. We'll give officers the options because, as you guys know, there's a lot that can be done with a car through the app.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a really important feature upgrade recently for our canine handler when the car is in dog mode,
Right.
so
Yeah,
they can
sure.
keep the car at a specific temperature. Now he'll be able to go into his app, hit the live cam, and check on the status of his dog there as well.
There's an internal camera that's
Right.
rear facing.
But I mean,
So we're going to do a blend.
But like the technical question. So in other words, like if I have just the phone app, let's say, and I'm using this particular cruiser, does the officer have to do anything then to like get into another one?
No, we'll give them access to the other cars in the fleet.
Okay.
So it's essentially
But one,
we have
one
cars that are
phone can operate all
That's
10
right.
of the model.
We have
Okay.
our fleets
Interesting.
for the similar vehicles. They're all keyed alike as they are now. So this is just kind of like the next evolution.
But that's a
of
mechanical
key-to-likes.
key, right?
That's
like
right.
Okay, that's a
So
skill.
we'll have key cards that will do the same thing, and the phone app will do the same thing, and we'll have key fobs as well.
Because
Does-
I've experienced that real quick in like with press cars where it's like, you know, if you have the Mercedes app, you can kind of, I don't think they want this publicized, but you can kind of drive any Mercedes press car. At least that's how it was
yeah.
initially.
We used to
Ford
have
has the same code for all their press cars.
Yes.
on the side. And we can tell you that on air if you like.
Don't tell anyone. But we used to have a 24-hour restaurant in South Pass back in the day where, since it was the only restaurant around, we'd have at night working a graveyard shift, officers from all over come.
Oh, what place was this?
It's called Caro's.
Oh yeah.
Restaurant.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's still there. Isn't
So there was it actually closed. I
it's
think
on-
a couple years ago.
it's on like
now.
Sounds like a
it's
business
on-
opportunity.
It's right off
Fremont.
Fremont. Yeah.
So we would, since all the keys are keyed alike, and it didn't matter what agency you were from, you could
Whooping around.
get in somebody's car and park it in a different part of the parking lot, or turn their windshield wipers on, or just have some fun with it.
Right.
But thankfully now things have evolved to the part where we can key them all alike, but not have common access.
Right.
Okay.
So another department wouldn't.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
But
wait, hang on. Do police departments issue their officers their like a duty mobile phone too, or no? So would these be personal phones that they get access to the cars, or is it,
We'll give them the option, and there's some talk about that as well. This might be the catalyst to individually issue each officer a phone. Right now, they have what they call beat phones. So certain areas of the city, whoever's working that area will get a cell phone, so they can utilize that. as well.
So like if you see, that's interesting. So like if like you go to some place and there's an incident like graffiti, you could take a picture with your beat phone, and then the next guy who picks up the beat phone can say, "Oh yeah, there it is."
That's right. And there's discovery issues when it comes to court using a personal phone.
Right, totally.
So we try to stay away from that whenever possible.
But it sounds like what I'm hearing is it's going to be pragmatic, and you'll probably figure out there is a solution that works a little better. Because in my limited experience with my own personal EV, like phone works real well for getting in the car and turning it on. The stupid card for my car is horrible. And it's a Rivian thing. But I mean, like I was at a gas station the other day. It was like, could the owner of the yellow vehicle go back to the front? And it's like, the guy's like, it's not working. I'm like, here's my phone. Take it through the car wash. You know?
So I think it was important for us to have a solution that's solution rich, feature rich, but also have a fail safe along. So that'll come in the form of the phone app and issue each officer a key card.
Got it.
Now, what's nice about the Model 3 is that it does have manual door handles. You just push them in. Mm-hmm. But are there any things that gave you pause or still give you pause about just the level of digital controls within the car, right? Like,
there's no fans, no AC.
You want to be able to like access things or pull things, and if like you have to like go through two menus on a screen, or you got to like open the app to do something, or just getting into the frunk or the
one of the
latches.
One of the key things that we were very upfront with offering Tony and his team is really hands-on training, and I think ultimately our goal here is not just to be hands-on training this whole team, which Tony's a fantastic representative already of that. Tony drives a Tesla as well, but there's a training component to get people up to speed with this technology. And from our point of view, that's just as important as anything else, because you can have amazing technology, but if you can't use it, it's like giving your grandmother an iPhone. She's going to get like no value out of it besides answering a phone call. The car can do a lot of stuff, but the training is a big component.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about the training of the officers in a little bit, but I was just curious, and this is where I'm going with it. So you alluded to it. So much of Tesla's, the magic of these vehicles and all software-defined vehicles as they come online, is that so much is in the software. Tesla has, you guys already mentioned, dog mode. There's also Sentry mode. Yeah. So Sentry mode has not only internal cameras but the external cameras. Body camera footage is a big topic these days. But then also the availability of what's been recorded to use in court, let's say, like. You guys, is this something that's on your mind? You've talked about. Is there going to be a some kind of protocol within the car where you can use it as Sentry mode or some version of it as a dash cam, or to when there's a stop, you just have this footage of what's going on, or is this like?
Yeah. So that'll ultimately be a policy decision, but being that the car does have that capability. And I anticipate we'll use that. We have a solution right now. It's known as evidence.com from a company called Axon. And we would have the capability to essentially take out the flash drive that the dash cam and or Sentry mode records to and upload that and archive it to evidence.com.
Okay.
So for...
Well, wait, you can do that utilizing this. So is evidence.com, is that a separate camera system that you'd have to put in, or you could
like our body worn cameras, we take those and we dock them when we get back to our station, and that uploads to evidence.com, which is like a cloud storage solution.
But so you're saying you have access to Tesla Sentry mode cameras in the same way, or
they're flash,
or you might have
it's recorded on a flash drive.
Yeah, it's recorded that video is recorded to a flash drive, and then we can take that out and take the files.
Because that's how the Tesla Sentry works. Is you buy a $30 flash drive and stick it in the car.
Yeah. Okay. There's great functionality as far as how it's used in court.
So
that's a
I could
story.
see a use case like a drunk driving, suspected drunk driving traffic stop, having that. I think it's 10 minutes of pre-event recording. They can hit that, and then we could actually show the impairment and the driving of the person.
So you could follow the guy for a block or two. Yeah.
I'm actually quite ignorant about Sentry mode. So you could be driving in your car, following a suspected drunk driver, and while driving, hit Sentry mode, and it records what's going on.
There's actually two different modes. There's a dash cam mode,
right,
and there's a Sentry mode. Think of Sentry mode as like the car's
By
alarm
itself.
system, if you will. So
Right.
when it's in park and it's unattended, the cameras are still active. And if there's a trigger, then it will archive that recording.
Right.
But
dash
you hit a
cam mode
button,
is
you
when
say
you're in
record now.
Right.
Yeah.
So dash cam mode, you can set it up different number of ways. If you hit the horn, that can archive the video, or if you hit on the display dash cam, that'll archive. So there are different ways to archive it.
Does it do
but
a
it's
big,
it's pre-event recording.
Does it do a big break input? Like on the Rivian has a, Rivian just rips everything.
The three
Tesla
I'm
does
aware
off,
of is like
you
an
slam
an
the brakes.
Oh, it'll record?
It's always recording.
Yeah,
but if you
it'll
slam the
save it.
brakes, it
Yeah.
goes 15 seconds back and then records for 2 minutes.
I don't believe it's event triggered based on brake threshold, but
Okay.
the common use case is horn trigger.
Horn.
A lot of people
Horn
have a
trigger.
horn incident.
Cop's
and
not
they
gonna
want to save
cop's
it.
not gonna do that, right? Beep, we're following you. Okay. Oh, it's fascinating. So I was going to ask whether this presents any huge electronics challenges for you, but it sounds like Tesla's already made this stuff relatively available for people who might want to use it this way. Is there any like black box stuff where you're like, oh boy, this would be really helpful if they unlocked this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're trying to approach what we can as a third party to make it easier for us and for others on the kind of harness and wiring and just general HV/LV kind of architecture. We're going
What's
through a lot
HV/LV mean?
of high voltage, low voltage.
Okay.
It's this is at right now a bit of a challenge because the car's not designed to take all this stuff, and there's a little bit of unknown as far as like the voltage load. I want to give a really important example, by the way, which to me is like the one thing I remember the most. I don't know if you guys think about this, but with police officers and the current cars that have gasoline engines, they're always on. They're on when they're driving and when they're not.
Oh, we're getting there.
And yeah, so 60% of the fuel used and burned into the atmosphere is during idling.
Right.
And this is like a really, really big factor for a lot of reasons, both cost savings, which is, to me, like you could talk about politics all day long, but what I care about, and I think everyone cares about, is let's just not waste money.
Yep.
And this is the most undisputable thing of all, is that this saves money over the long term, regardless of
And
air
look,
quality.
I mean, if you've never like worked with cops or been around cops, the cars never turn off. Like
Yeah.
we I've done a decade worth of shooting with CHP. They just run the cars all day, and it just.
Well, they have huge tanks too.
Yeah.
30-gallon tanks.
Well, but cars don't really burn that much fuel when they're idling. But 60% of the fuel is burned just from sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I have the data because actually Ford presented a lot of the data in their own catalogs, and it's fascinating. In a scenario like we're talking about with 20 police cars, there's an opportunity to save almost $250,000 gallons of fuel.
Gallons.
A lot.
But is
Yeah.
that's per year?
No, over a 5-year
vehicles,
period
okay.
of 20
but
cars.
still, okay. So
But the point being-
$1.25 million of California gas.
Yeah. So I took some
And
notes.
the whole
'cause I
program
thought
is
it was
1.3.
interesting.
I mean,
So
that's yeah.
yeah, on Ford's data, they basically say 2,800 gallons per car per year, and 1,600 of that is idling, which I think is really interesting. number.
Say it again. 2,000.
2,800 gallons are utilized per year. This is, I think, a 2018 Interceptor.
Okay, 2,800.
Of the 2,800, 1,600 of it is
Yeah.
not even driving, just idling.
Right. Okay. So 60%. Yeah. Just gone.
And,
wow, crazy. Yeah.
this is just a big opportunity to help taxpayers' money and the environment because
But let me just devil's advocate real quick. How much of the Tesla's battery is eaten up with the AC running? And with a glass roof car in South Pasadena, 7 months of the year, it's
In
real
August.
hot. Yeah.
one other relevant topic before I answer that is
Yeah.
the total number of miles driven per day with a gasoline-powered car or EV for police officers. The number tends to be around 60 from what we've seen. South Pass is a little bit smaller.
Yep.
But either way, if you take the number of 60 and you think about the range of these cars being 300 plus, it's a non-issue. It's a non-starter.
Range is, but
Yeah.
back to how much of the battery is.
I can
eaten.
give you a specific use
Yeah.
case on that because I actually tested that.
Okay.
There is a lot of movie filming that goes on in our city.
There is.
So we're assigned
Yeah.
to those movie shoots. I like them because the money's good. It's
Yeah.
overtime,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So I got my Model Y. I got delivery of it last September before we took delivery of our new cars. On a 12-hour movie shoot, that day ambient temp was like 96 degrees. 12 hours, I had everything running. So HVAC, entertainment system,
Making
watching
phone calls.
YouTube, everything, everything going. For that length of time, I used 13% of the battery.
Okay.
And that equated to about $3.42 worth of electricity.
Okay.
Probably roughly 35 or 40 miles of range.
That sounds about right.
Right.
Contrast that with my personally assigned Ford Crown Vic at the time. For under the same conditions, same amount of time.
But no YouTube. Good.
No, that's a good point. I'd use half a tank of gas.
Half tank. Huh. Okay. Yeah.
Because the idle time. So
that's pretty
well,
big.
but this is not quite apples to apples, because the one question I had for you both is, and we glossed over a little bit with all the mobile data terminal and other the light bars and stuff. And you mentioned high voltage, low voltage. What is going to be the draw off the battery, off the electrical system in these cars for all of the gear the officers are going to need to in the patrol cars specifically? Have you guys figured that out? What the impact of the range would be?
We've been going through all of that, and the key question is also how you distribute it on the low voltage system versus high voltage, because you ideally want to keep as much of that low voltage as you can, because it won't draw on the range of the car at all. But there has to be an integration of these two things to keep the car balanced. This is the reason even for the more modern police cars that are hybrid. I was actually in a meeting at a police trade show on this topic, having a conversation with someone, and every 3 minutes his car would kick on the gas motor because it was powering all the equipment, and you'd smell it, and it was kind of annoying, and then it would turn off and go on and off and on and off. So there's always an issue of managing the load and how to do that where it minimizes the impact to high voltage and to range. And we're right in the middle of these calculations and adding also additional batteries to the system. We have a pretty complex solution that we think will be pretty well dialed in. I'm not quite at liberty to say all of it yet, but it's
what batteries would you be adding?
Batteries.
Like
additional low voltage, yeah.
Okay, additional low voltage. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
The goal is to minimize the impact to the vehicle, but to keep the electronics the officers need on all the time, which is, if you look at the reason why these cars are burning up taxpayer money, idling all the time, it's twofold. Number one, because electronics have to be on. Just for functionality of the officer. And number two, if it's 100 degrees outside, they don't want their workplace to be 100 degrees.
Totally.
So all of this has to be solved either with the gasoline engine or with electricity. And the question is, how do you solve it in the most elegant way possible?
But how would you... Because that was the question I had. I thought I was under the mistaken impression. I asked my cop buddies, like, don't the cop cars carry, like, additional batteries or auxiliary power units or something? He's like, no.
They run the engine.
They have bigger alternators.
Yeah.
So...
Some are equipped with additional 12-volt batteries.
Okay. So are you talking like theoretically car batteries, or would you be putting in like, I'm thinking like a bunch of like mobile power bricks? And then where would those also charge off of the high voltage system or be charged when their vehicles are recharged?
You're asking really good questions. We're actually in the middle of engineering a product that we're, I think, going to release around this. We'll see how that plays out. But this is a solution to be solved. There's ways to do it that have pros and cons. I think when we have something more solid, I'll break through all the specs on it. But we're right in the middle of engineering this.
The other agencies that we're tracking, they've gone through and they've worked through it. We're just like Ben said, we're trying to find the most elegant way, the best way to solve it.
But I think back to we kind of glossed over it a little bit. Back to your point, you said so you used was it 3.5% of your battery idling all day?
13%.
13% versus half a tank of gas. So fully 50% of your energy versus 13% of your energy is pretty significant.
Right. By the way, another key point that I've seen is that approximately the cost per mile is about 1/20th using an EV versus a gasoline-powered car in terms of taxpayer money to get these cars moving along the road. There's a lot of data that's pretty compelling as far as just all these use cases.
On our numbers, it's about 10 cents per mile operate a Model Y versus 40 cents a mile.
So that's 3/4 saving is huge.
So we're projecting that fuel is the main driver of the cost savings. Maintenance is as well, but fuel's the big one. Over a 10-year period, we're conservatively projecting a cost savings in the area of a little north of $300,000 to the city and the taxpayer.
And this number increases based on the physical scale of the jurisdiction. So South Pass is smaller, so this is kind of the most conservative use case scenario.
Right. Well, in terms of use case, you mentioned Ben. You said about 60 miles per day. That's probably lower. Oh, per shift.
In Tony's case, I think it's less than 60.
It's 30 to 60 miles per shift.
And then Tony, you said the by 70,000, 80,000 miles, these cars are pretty beat. So how long, roughly, I can't do the math. How long does it take how long would it take South Pasadena to hit that, like for a car to basically
Going
age
60
out,
miles a day.
to age out?
6 to 7 years.
Okay.
Probably.
All right.
And these cars are on a 5-year lease. by the way.
5-year lease.
They're a 5-year lease.
So after
and
5 years, they
one of
get changed out.
That's right. One of the companies that's kind of an unanswered question right now. We have an expectation that we'll experience a longer length of keep of these vehicles because of the mechanical profile.
There's nothing to fix.
One of the companies we're tracking really closely is Hertz. Hertz has the largest fleet of Teslas right now. Typically, a rental fleet's kind of hard, so it's not exactly the same use case, but it's similar.
I'm sorry. What I was smiling about was I know there's a bunch of people, and I'm friends with some of them that love old cop cars. They love buying old.
Yeah,
something
I'm going
like,
to buy one of these.
I'll
ones.
have 20 for auction here very soon for everyone.
Like with ballistic panels, and I'm like, it's kind of, but it's with an extra battery capacity. It's kind of cool.
One mechanical question I'm looking over my notes where I didn't ask. Are you going to have the lights on the A-pillar? Are you guys doing that?
No, we're actually going with a different solution on that. Whelan Engineering, who is the company that is the manufacturer of most of the emergency lighting equipment.
The Unitrol?
The old school Unitrol.
That's
right.
Thank you, Thomas.
Wow. Ed, wow. Yeah.
So you've been talking to some
I've been
people.
talking to people.
What's a Unitrol? Hang on.
It's the controller for all the lights and sirens and things, right?
That's right. It's the control head.
Yes. That's fun.
Now Whelan came out with a new product a couple years ago. It's called the Argus, and it's a fully articulating remote-controlled spotlight, 360-degree rotation.
You have like a joystick or something?
It's very similar, but the cool thing about it, too, is we can also automate it. So with an OBD2 input from the car, we can get wheel position, and then we can program the Arguses to articulate based upon the direction of the wheel.
Oh,
headlights.
So it's like Citroen SM technology.
Yeah, and then we have, like you said, we can do it manually, so it gives us a lot more usability, and they're really, really bright.
You got to get the new 5 Series that came out a couple days ago. Like it tracks your eyes. So if it's in self-driving mode, you look over there and it'll change lanes based on where you're looking.
Yeah, we don't want that.
That's pretty freaky.
That's next level.
That's cool.
Hey man.
Okay, so
That's an what up full self-driving cop cars?
Probably won't see it in my career,
Got
but
it,
I
got
can
it.
see it coming in.
No, I mean
down the
like
road.
FSD mode. You're not getting FSD.
No, we don't. We didn't purchase that option.
Got it. Okay.
So
Yeah, we
you're
built
leasing-
in a Tesla Optimus bot to help out for the police force as well.
right, that's coming next, and the Tesla dog.
Oh well, the dog is coming to LAPD. Yeah.
But you would lease these directly through Tesla. Is that correct?
No, through Enterprise Fleet Management.
Oh, okay. Then, and you already took delivery? Is that?
We did.
You have all 20 rolling right
We
now?
do.
We're in the middle of building them out right now. Yeah.
But they're not patrolling right now. They're not.
No.
When is that expected?
Well, the best guess expectation, and again, this is a variable because we're really supply chain dependent for the parts, and I think we all know the build is largely dictated on the slowest part to get there. So we're right now projecting probably mid-June to get the first one back.
So it's May 26th today. So that's
Probably around this time
we're
this
hopeful
episode
3
rolls
weeks,
out.
yeah.
Okay.
So sometime around that
Okay.
time period, we'll get that vehicle back. We'll test
Sergeant
it.
Tony's car.
We'll test it, evaluate it, validate it. There's so much customization. We want to make sure that everything's dialed in like we want it, and then that will become the template for the builds for the 9 remaining months.
Got it. All right. So Ed's got too much respect for authority to ask this question, but how the hell are you going to get your officers to plug them in?
Yes. That's the question. So the great way to put it. The frame up was for my buddy. He's like, how are they going to do that? Like these, because I was like, well, surely when the cars come in, when there's a shift change, they sit for a little bit. He's like, no, they really don't. Like they come in, the next guy, they take their bag out, but the seat might still be warm. Somebody else gets in and they go on their shift. Like, is there enough time? How are you going to keep the charge And he also said, the cops are lazy. They can't even be bothered to fill up the car when the gas is free at the yard.
Yeah.
So
Now you're going to end up in the back seat of the cop car with that comment.
Sorry.
Berkeley cops are lazy, not South Pasadena.
Yeah. So what's the, and we got to get into this is where we went from car to software. Now we're going to talk about the human aspect.
element.
So how are you going to keep these cars ready to go and what's like the threshold range you want to keep in the vehicle at any given time? We talked about pursuits, if these guys are code 3 for an extended time, what does it do to range? So all that stuff.
So those are all important questions and ones that we wanted answered. I think the first thing I'll offer up is to charging infrastructure is key. So availability and sufficient in scope to support the vehicles coming in and having availability to charge.
And it sounds like you're solving.
I think we've solved that problem. The other problem was kind of more speaks to your point is we think there's a better way to put these cars in service. And this is the first opportunity that we've had with a new fleet to have enough vehicles to assign to officers. So this is kind of the model that we're looking at, and we're pretty sure we're going to go with it. We have we run 2 different shifts on each end of the week. So an A shift, days and nights at the beginning of the week, and a shift at the end of the week, a B shift, days and nights. We have enough vehicles now to where we can assign it to the individual officers on a shift. Then when they come in, they can park it, and the other officers coming on will get another set of vehicles.
So in other words, they're not going to be doing what's traditionally been done, just jump into the same car, put gas in it, who cares?
Correct.
This will be the car gets to sit and charge up on level 2 for a shift.
That's right.
And then the officer would presumably get back in it, or whoever's.
Right. And then on the opposite ends of the week, their colleagues will have that car.
Got it.
So essentially, there'll be, at the end of the day, 2 officers assigned to a car, which will help us solve some other problems. We're really hard on our equipment to start with, and we find when we personally assign it to officers,
They take a little better care of it.
a lot better care.
A lot better care
A
of it.
little more accountability there.
That's right.
So there's some logistics going on.
There is.
But because you're getting enough vehicles, and again, you're a small jurisdiction, 27,000 people.
3.5 square miles.
Yeah. So you have you're able to let some cars sit and stay charged.
That's right.
But also
that makes sense. Because I was like, who cares if you have that many level 2 chargers if they're never going to be parked long enough to take advantage of a longer, like a multiple hour charge. Right?
The admin portion of the fleet's a non-issue. The level 2s are great for them.
Yeah, they sit.
But also for those cases where we have an entire shift out on an event and they're out there for a long time and they need to come in and charge because they're low, we have the fast charging availability on campus as well.
Got it. Right.
And then they can also pull up to the mall and flash their badge and say, "Get off that fast charger! I'm coming in hot." That's my cop impression.
Yeah, not very good. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so let's talk about the fun stuff.
Well, hang on. What does it say? What are some other human element concerns that you've?
Okay, yeah, training. How are you going to train these guys? Is there an EVOC, emergency vehicle operations center, you're going to train these guys to do a pit maneuver in a Model Y, or do the Dukes of Hazzard, the Starsky and Hutch slide over the hood and hop in.
So there are some definite differences when it comes, you guys know, to driving an EV. Most of it revolves around the one pedal driving and the regen braking. We recognize that. We reached out. There is a government agency in California that regulates California police officers training and standards. It's called the Commission on Police Officers Training and Standards. Mm-hmm. So we reached out to our regional representative to formulate the curriculum for a perishable skills driving class specific to EVs. And that's where Unplugged has come in as well with their motorsports background.
Right.
They have professional drivers that know very well.
Yeah, I should add, we have these Tesla Corsa events, which are almost the same thing. We have beginner driver training with pro drivers teaching these guys how to handle their car on the track. And we have a Tesla-only track day. So,
are you saying
I think
Randy Popes is training Johnny Law.
I think we should. I think that'd make a good video, by the way.
Would be fantastic.
He'd be great.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a great
we've
video.
been semi-serious, semi-joking about doing a blended Tesla course at track day with police cars and racers. And
Call it Cops and Robbers. That'd be great.
yeah, there's some fun opportunities ahead, and we should get Randy doing something.
So that's going on right now.
So they will be trained then to use these vehicles in like a wet skid pad. Like what happens when you
Well, it's
loop
interesting.
it,
The skid pan training that we used to have so much fun with before the cars had traction control.
Sure.
We could go out there 60 miles an hour, hit it, and it's turn. Now you can't really get a car sideways. It's really hard.
Right. So, but is there any other like? Well, let me ask you this: has there been pushback within the department where the officers are like,
he keeps jumping into my questions. That's exactly what I was going to ask.
like,
surely
you get $1 for every question.
Yes, this is part of this whole liberal conspiracy, right? Surely there's officers on board that are like, what are we doing here? Like, you tree huggers, like, what's going on? Like, why?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we're no different than any other cross section of society. There's ones that have had exposure to EVs and specifically Tesla, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I can't believe we're doing this. Then there's others that are very skeptical.
Sure.
But I can kind of explain how that's played out already in our department.
Yeah, please do.
Our administrative vehicles went in service on a limited basis. We don't respond to emergencies with them because they're not upfitted yet. But they've been in use since December. And they are personally assigned. So I run our detective bureau right now. I have detectives that are working for me, and I watch them evolve over the last couple months where initially they're skeptical to the point that now they've driven a lot, and I caught them on the computer on the Tesla configurator. Like, hey, what do I have to – can I get in one of these in my personal cars? And it kind of was the same path for me where when I really drilled into it, I'm like, I need to get one of these. So I imagine it's going to be the same with the patrol officers as well. And I think Franz said it best on your podcast recently, where I can tell them what the experience is like, but they're not going to believe me until they get into the car and experience it for themselves.
Yeah. Look, I remember with my wife, with our Rivian, she, one pedal driving, the first hour she had it, she called me. She's like, well, I hate it. I hate it. I go, look, there's a thing. It's on. I put it on strong. Just put it back to whatever. And then like a couple of days later, she's like, how do you get it back to strong? That's way better than having to hit the brake pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just an experience thing.
Okay, so I get that. So that you feel like there will be an adoption. There'll be some resistance, adoption. Everyone will come around. What about, because I heard this before when police departments adopted the Chargers. Like, what about the guys who love it too much? Like the Excel, these cars are like way the Model Ys.
Yeah, even the long range.
Even the long range could be way quicker.
Yeah. The 0 to 60 time is half of the Ford Explorers.
Right. Yeah. So are you afraid that guys are going to be like
hot dogging?
Overdriving it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to have those discussions, and through the training that you talked about, I'm hopeful that one, some of that will be modified, but two, if there is an accident, one of the reasons again with Tesla was the advanced safety systems that come along with it as well. Best accident is no accident.
Yeah, right.
So with some of those, with that feature set, and if God forbid they do get in an accident, that they're going to be taken care of as best as possible. So we'll do a lot of work with that. We'll make them. I think most of it's awareness. Like we need to, put that out there in front and say, hey, this is the performance characteristics of this car are faster, but by the same token, it handles and brakes better.
Right.
So I think it's an education issue, if you will, more than anything.
But
else.
has there been any like specific pre-gripes, because they're not in the vehicles yet, but is there any like one theme you're hearing, like I don't want an EV because of some
they look kind of dorky, they don't look as
some
like
officer reason, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think we're a profession that's deeply rooted in tradition.
Sure.
So you see that from the police cars to the uniforms, the whole thing. So when a change is this dramatic, it's going to take a while because it's a significant change. So
But,
I don't think
I
it's
guess what
anything overcome. It's just it's changed.
I guess what I'm asking is like, like I spend way too much time thinking about this and dealing with this, but they're like, oh, we were talking about it earlier, if it catches on fire, you can't put it out. Like, that's not true. Also, they don't really catch on fire that frequently, much less frequently than gasoline powered cars, like much less frequently. Yeah.
Right.
But is there anything that you're hearing your officers saying like, it's, I don't know.
It's mostly the same arguments that we talked about.
Okay.
Nothing specific to police work other than maybe interior space.
Okay.
And we think we've solved that problem as well with the prisoner partition solution we're going with.
Okay.
So
you mean interior space for the rear or for the officers themselves?
It's actually both. They're both related.
Right.
But the driver.
Yeah.
Being able to fully articulate the front driver's seat.
Okay.
Are you changing out the front seat?
No.
Not at this time.
Not
We're looking
now.
at possible things in the future.
What about
Right
like
now,
cutouts for the belt, for the gun belts?
Yeah, at the moment
The Sam Brown, is that right?
Sam Brown.
That's right.
Good notes.
At the moment, no, but it is something that we're watching carefully. And we have a lot of data on the previous security cars that we've done. And so far, we haven't had a lot of complaints from the drivers, but we do see wear and tear on the interior, so we know where the high wear areas
Gotcha.
are. And that's important for us to keep an eye on.
Right around the hips, right? I mean, these belts. So most you guys know, like obviously, it's like the Batman belt. They got the big old leather. Usually, well, now I guess it's a lot of like nylon. Now I guess people are going to do.
Yes.
Male.
Well, they carry the sidearm.
Oh, tasers, pepper
Maybe
spray,
taser, pepper spray, handcuffs,
Ammunition.
extra ammunition.
Ammunition.
Some guys still might carry one of
And
those.
by the way,
cloth
ammunition
batons.
clips are rectangular with sharp edges that cut
Right.
everything.
So that's interesting. And a lot of the cop cars, I think. I actually read up on Chevy, Ford, and Stellantis PPV vehicles, and Chevy in particular had a special seat for the Tahoes, I think, to accommodate.
We have fabric seats in the Ford Explorers that we have now. So with the way the Teslas are, I mean, I'm anticipating better wear just from the type of material that's in there now. But we'll see.
Vegan leather, whatever it
Put
is.
beaded car seats in, maybe help. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm looking actually at a Google image of. I've looked up South Pasadena Police Department cars. These cars are already liveried out there. They have the black. Is it standard black and white, but a white door with the blue South Pas logo?
So when I talked about tradition,
Yeah.
there were some in-depth discussions about livery.
With whom?
We had a design contest within the department
Okay.
to see if we could do a refresh on it.
lightning bolts.
And then we took the input back from that and took it to Unplugged. And I think just as of literally 2 days ago, we came up with a final design decision that's both respectful to the black and white heritage of the police cars, but pairs well with the modern vehicle platform now. So I'm excited about it.
Oh. Is it going to be unveiled, or
We're going to do an unveiling.
is it like a panda hugging a tree or something?
No,
Okay.
I can say unequivocally it will not be that.
Well, okay, I have a question for Ben then.
Well, hang on. Will there is LAPD is protect and serve? What does South Pasadena have a slogan? It's going to go somewhere in the car.
Not that we're going to put on there. We have in the past, but
What is it?
on these? Well, it's varied throughout.
Eat
throughout
it,
the
Gus's.
years. It's it's evolved, and it's kind of evolved with the mission statement.
Okay.
I guess actually a question for both of you, but since this announcement came out, and I know I contacted you, but how many other municipalities have reached out to either pick your brain, Tony, or like, hey, this is like, let's start talking.
Quite a few. And from our side, we don't ever kind of look at these topics as a one and done scenario. This is really, in essence, a beta test to understand the engineering and the appetite to scale this, because it's a solution that is better for taxpayers and better for the environment and needs to scale. So for us, it's really important to really nail it on the first 20 with Tony and then illustrate how this can work nationally and globally. And it's important for people to reach out and to find us. And thankfully, They are.
Yeah.
Tony in particular has gotten a lot of inquiries so far, and we really welcome that because we want to scale this thing out and make an impact for the environment.
Sure,
and for the
yeah.
taxpayer.
20 cars is a drop in the bucket.
But there's a lot of
but
lessons
like
learned.
LAPD, which I think is the biggest mobilized police force in the world. Is that correct? Maybe somewhere in China is bigger. That's a lot of cars if they were to flip the switch.
We think this can be impactful. And the feedback that we've gotten so far has been very positive. Tony, you can elaborate if you're able to.
Yeah,
I'm not sure some of it's private, but
just in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten calls and emails and texts from as far away as Alabama, Oregon, and kind of all points in between, regionally as well.
International, anybody?
No, not yet.
And we count Canada too as international.
And kind of the interesting thing with law enforcement is there's not a real big appetite as a profession for risk taking.
Yep.
Sure.
But we're really good at taking a proven program and rebranding it and making it our own. So that's, in a sense, what we've done with the other agencies that I think we're the really early adopters in this scenario. We kind of are standing on their shoulders now and building upon their willingness to share information and share data. We're going to do it in a probably more formal and more robust way, so other agencies can use that as a model if they desire to implement their own program.
So if there's so much interest in other police departments, and then for you as well, Ben, like why wouldn't Tesla build out this as a line of business?
Yeah, so my background on the Tesla side of things goes back 10 years from when we started Unplugged, and it happened because we're neighbors with them and we met them. But the one thing which has remained constant the whole time is that we wanted to support their mission and do the things that didn't scale most efficiently for them, but that we felt needed to be done. You could argue the same thing about why there's not an AMG division, or when you buy a Plaid, there's not a driving program like you would have with the Mercedes or with the McLaren. Tesla is extremely good at technology and scale, and they're also very good at staying laser focused at that, which leaves opportunities for companies like us to try to add value adjacent to that.
But in the future, there's nothing to stop Tesla from doing their own.
Nothing to stop them from doing anything they want to do.
Right. Yeah, literally, yeah.
I mean, Elon is very clear that like if he wants to do it, get the hell out of his way. He's going to do it in every category.
Right. Full self-driving, turn it on now. Right.
But, if you think about just, the business economics of it, I think scaling Cybertruck and scaling a lower-cost car is more important than winning a fleet category right now for them. That's my hunch.
Yeah.
Are you looking, Tony, at Cybertruck as a potential? Trucks are actually getting more and more popular as police vehicles.
Yeah, we have a use case for utility vehicles, so yeah, we'll look at it.
What is a use case for a police truck? Other than like
it
at
varies
the
on
beach.
the department, but for us, it's mostly transportation of equipment.
Okay.
Right.
So police barricades, cones,
stolen bicycles,
like,
I think, right? Yeah. No, actually, that happens, right? Like kids, you find a bike and then you put it in the back of a cruiser or some drag.
We're actually already engineering for Cybertruck, and we're looking at it for police. Also, we had a conversation about brush fire type services for pickup trucks, and also looking at military applications for it. I think it's a Swiss Army knife of a vehicle. So the ruggedness and what it can do can lend itself to a lot of use cases.
Let me ask you this, because I know we talked about this a long time ago when I first met you about, it's hard to get specific software updates and to modify the Tesla software. Is there anything with, you're talking about the split between low voltage and high voltage that can you modify the software of these vehicles at all? Or is it still like, you're on Tesla's update schedule?
I would love to have a solution for that, but one of the complexities of Tesla, which actually is a real competitive advantage, is you see all this I would consider fairly disingenuous news of recalls where they just push a button and push firmware updates, but they make it seem like every car had to go to Tesla.
Right.
But the point is Tesla is able to update their firmware really rapidly, and the more branches they have of specialized use cases, it slows down their ability to streamline firmware. So whenever I want to ping someone at Tesla and be like, hey, we're going to Pikes Peak, can you unlock a little thing? Or we're building police cars, can you unlock this feature? The ask is not just that these guys are super busy and they don't have time for it, but also how do they maintain that branch of that firmware for every future update. It's a heavier lift than it looks like on the surface.
Sure.
So we try to be as least invasive as possible and try to solve it with the means that we have because we're not Tesla.
Reduce complexity.
Good
Right?
answer.
That's their whole mission.
Exactly.
Including hardware. So everything is a digital button. We're kind of running out of time, so I want to go through some of the random fun questions. So LA is like not only one of the car capitals of the world.
Car chase capital.
We're the car chase capital of the world. We pioneered such things as the televised car chase. Also helicopters, right?
Sure.
KTLA pioneered showing the traffic conditions via helicopter.
We're entertainment capital of the world, baby.
South Pass, for those who don't know, is south of Pasadena. It's also north of Los Angeles. It's connected by one of the oldest freeways in America. The oldest. The 110.
The curviest.
And it goes, which goes into the heart of downtown LA and all points beyond via our fabulous highway system. Also goes north, and you can't get there directly, but eventually it's 210. Anyways, in the event, what everyone wants to know is what's going to happen in a code 3, all lights firing emergency situation. You got to chase somebody in your EV, and you end a shift. You got 50% on the battery. Did you work through these scenarios? And then it's a small town, so other agencies will likely get involved, especially if you jump on the freeway. Then it's CHP.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you guys thought about? What's any limiting factors that obviously not, because you guys have ultimately decided to go with Tesla, but talk us through that piece.
So I would encourage people who want to see what the performance is like with the Model Y to do a YouTube search for Logan, Ohio Police Department.
Okay.
They published the video is about a half hour in length of what turned out to be a very high speed pursuit of a Ford Mustang.
Of course, always. How did I not know that?
Stereotype is
I
always
think
true.
that's
somehow.
really illustrative on how the Model Y performs. But when you pull it back to our use case here in California, 85, and this is published data by the California Highway Patrol, because each time we have a vehicle pursuit, for people that don't know, we have to submit a report to the California Highway Patrol. Then they compile all that data and they publish it pursuant to a Senate bill requirement. So 85% of police pursuits in California last 10 miles or less.
Right. Yeah.
If you bump that up to 20 miles or less, it goes up to 93%. So there's more than sufficient range if the officers manage their charge effectively, like they manage their car. We do not want to be those guys that are an international news story for running out of charge in a pursuit.
But here's the thing. Cop cars might have, a quarter tank of gas when the chase starts, right?
Hopefully not.
Oh, okay.
We'll give guidance, probably not.
No. What I'm saying is, today, if there's a police chase, you start running.
I think he's saying that they would rather that not happen either.
Oh, right.
We generally tell people don't go out without half a tank.
Right.
That's kind of a best practice, at least for us. Is if we're going to
go
in
but
service.
A half a tank with a gas car is 150 miles, and a half a charge with a Model Y is 150 miles. It's the same.
It's essentially the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're killing my dreams. I had the movie car, chase sequence in mind.
Real quick, what I also suggest, if you type in Mustang police chase into Google,
get a lot of results.
No. You get one in particular. Literally the greatest driver of all time was this guy. I think it was in Miami. This dude does, I think, 3 full 360s. He keeps getting pit maneuvered.
Oh, yeah.
Full
Rockford.
360s and just keeps going. It's the greatest police chase ever.
To your point, though, if we do have a pursuit, most of the time we're not within our city boundaries for very long when that occurs.
Right.
So there is a coordination and sometimes a handoff of these pursuits if they go on for long periods of time.
Okay.
So we have contingency plans for our contingency plans.
And that's an this is something you should know. Any of you guys who are thinking of running through South Pass, the minute they hand you off, now you get a ticket from 2 police departments, right? And if you get on the freeway, then it's 3. It's like everywhere you go, someone's going to hit you up for money when you're in jail. So,
well, let me ask you this though, because it what I'm also hearing from you is that you're trying to be almost like a model agency? Like, do you feel pressure? Like, man, we got to really do this right, or is it just will that die down? Do you think?
I think there's a lot of pressure right now, especially because one of the partners in this project is the South Coast Air Quality Management District. And we haven't talked a lot about the sustainability and health benefits of this. But they are that's one of their big responsibilities in our region is clean air.
AQMD. That's right.
That's right. So
yeah. And that is huge. I mean, we kind of never talk about this on the program, but there's studies like, I think about this because when my kids go into elementary school, but like, if a school is within 500 feet of a freeway, like, asthma rates go through the roof.
Well, and
that's right.
This area of California, of Los Angeles in particular, this is close to the foothill. You both, it's South Pasadena.
Pasadena
Glendale,
is a native word for cloudy valley. I mean, we get the worst smog.
Up against the foothills because all the coastal breeze pushes all that into the mountains. And it just, on a hot summer day, August, September, October,
Terrible.
It just gets nasty, and your lungs will hurt. Back in the day, your lungs were hurt from the smog in the
Absolutely.
air.
And I don't think I really got it until I remember vividly back in March of 2020.
Oh, yes.
When COVID kicked off. I was in homicide school in the city of La Habra.
Detective. You learn to be a homicide detective.
Right.
Okay.
Not how to murder.
It's a skill set to learn how to investigate homicide.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Good movie title.
So I was commuting from the San Gabriel Valley to La Habra. And just in that short period of time, the vast difference in air quality, because that was during
magic.
the time of the 2-week lockdown, right?
Oh, right.
It was magic, yeah.
It was. Cars were off the road, and it really kind of illustrated to me the potential of what could happen if we had this type of transition.
Yep.
So to get back to the AQMD, they provided $500,000 in grant funding towards this project, and one of the requirements is to keep really good notes of the metrics and everything. That could in turn be used as a model for other law enforcement agencies. Because traditionally, especially for them, this has been a difficult market to penetrate, and they want this program to serve as a model for others.
Interesting. Other policing agencies, but probably other city agencies too, right? Like anybody who needs vehicles to do service.
Any
service-related
fleets,
work.
sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you're obviously on board because you spearheaded this for the city of South Pasadena, and you're personally a Tesla owner. You're obviously on board because you're helping him. You're telling us that the early adopters, your detectives, are largely getting on board, and you think probably the entire department will probably get on board. Is there anybody like, since the stories have come out, does public response? Have people, this is a terrible idea. Look at you guys. Don't you worry about the cobalt from the Congo and all that stuff. Is there anything like that going on? Okay.
Yeah, we get that. But I think and we could probably do a better job, but the opportunities are a little bit limited. But it's all about education and correcting the record and providing fact-based data to address the misinformation.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's an ongoing basis that will continue, I'm sure.
I think
throughout the life of the program.
The data is the data, and what's more important than talking about it is doing it. And when we do it, you see the data, and then you realize, just like we talk about with everything else with EVs, it reached a tipping point where it's just obvious for a lot of reasons, and it becomes inevitable.
Say inevitable. Yeah.
Finally, I was going to say, we went the whole episode and we didn't hit the bell.
There was a survey done the other day, and it was get rid of the bell. But
the first two guys voting for it were Johnny and Scott Evans. So
who works for MotorTrend. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is great. Look, we covered a ton, and we're actually basically out of time. But do you have any other questions?
I just want to bring this up to Tony because I used to spend an inordinate amount of time talking with California Highway Patrol officers, and I was always like, man, once cars drive themselves and weed is legal, like what the hell are you guys like? Where do you make your money? You know what I mean? So I'm just throwing it out there, like mobilized policing, like not so much the weed part, but the with self-driving vehicles, like have you thought about that? Does that what is specifically CHP? But like what's your job? What's their job?
Unfortunately, I think there will always be a need for police officers in society.
Sure.
I don't think,
of course,
from what I've seen, that AI can replace it. You're going to need at some point in time an officer to show up to your door.
Oh yeah.
So that will always continue, but what that looks like in the future, I think, is pretty exciting. I can see a time within the next several years, not in my career because I'm just about out, but where the car will navigate itself to a call for service, and it'll do it in such a way that is substantially safer than a human driver. So I think that's exciting, but that's going to be a hard sell.
And let me ask you this: do you pull over cars that are driving themselves? Like if there's no, like a Waymo that has no one behind the wheel and it's going 40 and a 35?
Yeah.
Like,
that's going to be really interesting because I saw a video just the other day of a Waymo vehicle in San Francisco that drove through a police barricade, police tape, and the officer was like, what's up with that?
Right.
Yeah,
those are challenges.
I was in a vehicle that ran a stop sign in front of a police department in San Francisco once, and that was a fun reaction.
Okay. Well, look, this was awesome. Like you guys literally, I had 1,000 questions.
I think we got to get him back in like a couple of years once we have some data.
I think he's retiring. I think this is like I think Tony like set up South Pass for like the future, and he's gonna
or Tony's replacement. But
I'm happy to come back whenever you guys.
No, but I'm really this is fascinating. And again, it's, as you know. I've said this many times, but remember when Newsom signed the thing like there will be no gas vehicles sold in California by 2035, and everyone was like tearing their garments, and I'm like, I think it's cute. You think that there will still be gas cars being made that you could buy, and so obviously don't get the bell, but it's inevitable that cop cars are going to have to go EV when all cars are EVs.
Right. Yeah, that's actually that's a great place to end. Is this all inevitable? I already hit the bell. Do you think everybody has to be going this way? Or I'm sure there's some sergeant or chief in some rule that's like, we don't got the infrastructure. Or there's some reason why it doesn't make any sense.
I think it's definitely going in that direction, and it's just a matter of time before, because at the proverbial end of the day, operationally, it makes the best sense. We get the best performing cars that cost significantly less to maintain and fuel. And that's the drive. That's
you can't argue that. You could say, well, I don't care about childhood asthma.
That was one question I was meaning to ask, which is, at the end of the day, how much does let's say the Ford Explorer Interceptor or the Dodge Charger, fully loaded, all done with all the stuff for a patrol car, cost versus what you guys are building? Is there an estimate? You can provide?
It's the Tesla solution without fitting, again, because a lot of it's new.
Yeah, you're inventing
it's more
Ben's
expensive.
got to figure it out. Yeah.
But what I've tried to focus people on is the total cost of ownership of the car, and that's where the cost savings.
10 cents a mile versus 40 cents a mile is undeniable, especially over time.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's an upfront. There's more expense to it. Although now, if you look at the Teslas, they're a couple $1,000s below the average price of a new vehicle.
It changes weekly, but
yeah, exactly.
I think there's opportunities to drive the cost down further. Right now, we're basically doing these cars at full retail value with full equipment and then throwing stuff out, which is not the most efficient way to go about doing it. So there's opportunities for scale, both on our side for building out solutions that are more efficient, and also potentially,
in other words,
Tesla
don't send the back seats because we're not going to use them.
There's a lot of stuff we're not going to use. We don't
need the front liners because we're pulling them out.
But the key thing is this is like peak inefficiency of process right now because we're early and it's still cheaper. So it only gets better from there. And then I just feel like it's imperative for the government. Right now we have examples of the government giving tax subsidies on the contents of the battery cells being U.S. made. But we're not talking about the same thing. If we save a couple $100,000 in fuel, that money goes to Saudi Arabia, but yet we're incentivizing U.S. made for battery architecture. There should be some consistency, and we need to recognize that taxpayer money, we want it kept in the country and in the community, and so much of that is being funneled out because of the wasted gasoline of these cars. So there's so many arguments, and all of them are valid, and the remaining arguments that are left are what if aliens come and hijack all the cars? that's what we're left with.
The one I've been hearing a lot lately is they can turn your car off, and remember the Boston Marathon bomber? He hijacked a Mercedes ML. That was turned off. Mercedes turned that car off for the cops there. You know what I mean? That was a decade ago, like they can turn your cars off
Yeah.
unless you're really driving something old. Like it's not an EV thing, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually
So-
surprised that it's taken this long to get to this point. But now that we're here, it seems like the future is going to come pretty quick.
Right.
I got three. Actually, I just figured I got three questions.
Oh.
So one for Ben, two for Tony. So Ben, I'll ask you. This is totally unrelated to the conversation today. It just popped into my head because of the announcement that Ford is going to adopt Tesla's North American charging standard connector. Is that a business opportunity for you? Is Unplugged going to somehow try to leverage that? Are you going to, do you do much with charge handles?
Yeah,
Charge
no,
connectors?
nothing at the moment. I think anything that makes EV adoption increase in speed is good for not just for our business, but more importantly for the world. And that's really where we come from. The opportunities are everywhere. New rules are getting written every day, whether it's motorsport stuff we were doing or police stuff we're doing now. Like there's an infinite amount of opportunities if you embrace change and go to where common sense leads you. And I think Tony was really a pioneer in this, where he saw the data and everyone else was afraid to make that leap, and he fought for it. And I think there's an infinite amount of opportunities if you're anywhere in this space and you're just looking at, where things are heading. The facts are on the ground.
Okay. So the last two questions for Tony. Question number one. Has anybody asked to go for a ride along in any of your new Tesla police vehicles yet?
Yes.
Shoot. Can we? Second
None
question.
have been granted yet.
Can you prioritize MotorTrend?
MotorTrend be first.
The EV experts.
That was my second question.
I know people, so I think we might be able to make that happen.
Okay.
Only if we
preferably
can
in
lock you up on the back
in
seat.
the rear
I want
seat.
the
I was
photo.
going to say.
Yeah.
All right. So this was awesome.
Can I go in the front, handcuff him?
This was awesome. This is great.
One more? You have one more? You said you had two for Tony.
That was it. That was who was asked. Can we be first?
No,
So-
hey, I think it's cool. I love. It's just cool you're doing it, and like, good for you for being first to do the entire fleet. And I like how it's not a half measure. And I think to me the most impressive part was you really thought about the infrastructure of it, and like getting all the level 2 chargers in place. Like means that you're serious about it. So yeah,
I think that's
it's cool.
absolutely key.
Yeah.
And you do it with other people's money. That's the best. I'm just kidding. No. I mean, but seriously, like South Coast Air Quality Management stepping in, and SoCal Edison. This is how this stuff's going to work.
That's what they
That's
should
right.
do, though.
Yes.
That's why we have these big agencies.
Public and
Yeah.
public partnership.
Yeah.
You bet.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Sergeant Tony Abdallah,
And real quick, good luck on the mountain. Good luck on Pikes Peak.
Oh, thank you.
good luck.
And also,
to Ben.
excited.
whoa. Congrats on the plaid dark helmet at Willow. We haven't even talked about that.
Thank you.
The 5,000 some odd pound plaid, I think it weighs about that with the roll cage, beat
Accidentally.
Accidentally is maybe the operative word, because it
Accidentally-
wasn't even on the proper lap.
but-
the car battery was already drained and the car was
but
already hot.
beat a Porsche GT2 RS's lap time by a second at Big Willow, which
during shakedown for Pikes Peak.
we've been trying. We kind of have stopped in the last couple of years, but I tried for a long time to break. Randy set that record in the GT2 RS.
Sure.
Back in 2018, and we've been trying to beat that. I tried with like an Aventador SVJ.
Who was driving? Was Randy driving?
Craig Coker, our factory driver, was driving.
Crazy.
Yeah, so like
congrats.
that's wild to me. That's like a real.
What's crazy, if you watch the video, there's a couple more seconds in it, and we just weren't even out there to do that.
Yeah,
So,
I've been meaning to write it up, so I'll call you and get a quote from you. But yeah,
No, the car's quick. Hopefully, we have better luck this year on the mountain. But
Don't say that.
Awesome.
It's a crazy event.
The mountain doesn't care.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But good luck.
Yes,
Thank you.
so thank you for coming, Ben Schaefer of Unplugged Performance, and again, Sergeant Tony Abdallah from the South Pasadena Police Department.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.